ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. Got a couple of questions, I believe, on Capitalism number 11, and then maybe on 12 or 13. But on number 11, immigrants are the question. Immigrants are the subject. And the question is, won't the poor immigrants hurt our standard of living? Because I uphold that we should have open immigration. If you can get your feet on American soil, you should be allowed to come to America and live. So will immigrants, or would immigrants, hurt our standard of living? So currently we have immigration controls that you have to have, I don't know what all the stipulations are, probably a certain amount in savings, a job, a relative, who knows, something in America. You have to have something to be able to come here, an education of some kind, a degree, a profession, something like this. So we're currently suffering from the fallacy that we can only allow immigrants in who are going to contribute to our way of life, because poor immigrants supposedly don't. And there are certain fallacies, a couple of them, that people cite when they make this argument. First of all, they say that poor immigrants come in and get on welfare, and they put their kids in public schools, and they don't pay taxes because the jobs they get don't pay very much tax, so they're not productive, but their kids are a strain on the system. And the only argument that can be given against that, if you cite medical and education costs, why are we giving away free medical and education? Why do we have health and welfare programs, and why do we have public education? That's an argument against public education. That is not an argument against immigrants. If the immigrants came here and had to make do on their own for their own health care and for their own education, if it was a free economy in those respects, then they wouldn't be straining our resources, would they? They would be having to make do on their own, which means they'd have to produce something. So that's an argument against statist controls over the economy and education and redistribution of wealth programs and welfare. That is not an argument against immigration. So you can say, well, alright, but shouldn't we keep the immigrants out because we know that they're going to come here and take up our resources? So given the fact that we've got these state controls, shouldn't we then restrict immigration? And I say two wrongs don't make a right. You can't pile up evils and get to a good end. Because, first of all, there are good people all over the world who want to come to America and would work hard when they got here and contribute to our way of life here. When we only allow educated people or whatever to come here, only people who have high-paying jobs or whatever, we are cutting off the stream of people who are uncorrupted or unformed by the corrupt education statist institutions all around the world. Every nation has got education institutions that are infiltrated by the state. None of them have a laissez-faire education policy. And when we demand that everyone has been through one of those thoroughly before they can come to this country, we do ourselves no favors. No favors. The best education systems in the world are in America because of the private sector. The public sector is junk. So, the next bit of the argument about immigrants is that they will lower our wages, because they will come in, if you've got a restaurant, 15 white cooks working at $10 an hour each, and all of a sudden you've got Mexicans, or Puerto Ricans, or Jamaicans, or Chinese, or, you choose. Immigrants who come in and say, I'll work for $7.50 an hour, and if you squeeze me, I'll take $6 an hour. And here's these white guys making 10. So they stop hiring guys at $10 an hour, start hiring them at $6 and $7.50. Now, I have no sympathy for the white guy. If he isn't worth $10 an hour, he has no right to restrict the labor market in order to artificially prop up his value. No right to do that. At the expense of keeping other people out of a good way of living. At the expense of keeping other people in the slave pens around the world. He proposes to keep his wage $2 or $3 higher to flip burgers. I have no sympathy for him. He needs to If he's intelligent and motivated and educated, high school education or whatever, he needs to go move up into management then, if he wants to go ahead and keep on making wages when there are other people around who are willing to do the job for less. Or he needs to take less money for it. If he insists on flipping burgers because he loves it, then he'll do it for less money. So that still isn't an argument against it. In addition to that, if you go buy your burger every day for lunch, all of a sudden the price of labor in the restaurants, if we have a massive influx, say, of Mexicans or whatever, the price of labor in the restaurants reduces by 10% or 20 or 30 or 50% maybe in extreme cases. And that stops the pressure pushing prices up on your burger and fries and beer at the place. And it's just better for everybody. Everybody except that cook who wants to keep his right to be a slothful, worthless bastard at $10 an hour when someone else is willing to do the same job for $7.50. He has no